Well, another knife video today, and this is one that I'm very excited about. This, as you can see, the knife in front of you is the Zero Tolerance 0600, and this is the knife that resulted from the collaboration from RJ Martin and the Zero Tolerance or Kai Industries. So this is based on RJ Martin's Q36, which has kind of been held as the pinnacle flipper for a number of years now, and this was the Blade Show 2012 collaboration of the year knife. So, a very cool knife. It falls into the Kai Industries ultra premium folders. And I don't know if, for those of you who are watching, if you've heard of a podcast called Everyday Commentary done by Anthony Scolambrini, but he actually had Thomas W., kind of the head honcho of Kai Industries here in the US, on the podcast, and he listed out several, well, he talked about a lot of things that are really interesting in regard to the manufacturing process for Kai, for Kershaw, for Zero Tolerance. And anyhow, this knife fits into their ultra premium category, and they have entry level going from basically $20 knives, less than $20 import value, all the way up to these knives that can go from $400 to $500 street, and then aftermarket, insane. I mean, there's been no cap on them from there. So one of their ultra premium folders. A few others are the 777, which you've heard of, and that has come in a few variations. One with the Damascus, one with the M390. There is this one, the 0600, which came with this beautiful stone-washed satin blade. Yeah, stonewashed satin, or there's also one with the DLC coated. The DLC coated 0600s are actually a little more rare than the stonewash versions. There's also the Zero Tolerance 801 carbon fiber, a variation due out later this year. Hopefully we'll see the 0454 collaboration out later this year, which is done with a Russian knife designer. I can't remember his name right now. So there's that one. There's also the Zero Tolerance 888, which has been released in the composite blade. It's also due out in the Maxim blade, and then there'll be another one, I think, in M390 as well. And those ones are due out later this year. Now, this knife, while it's designed after the Q36, I think a better comparison would be between this knife and probably the 0560, because this knife is just one step up from the 0560. 0560 is a premium, this one's an ultra premium. This was done in a limited run of, I believe, 1,000 for this one. And it takes some cues from the 560, obviously the 3D machined titanium. Both sides, very beautiful. It does have upgrades, such as a 3D machined pocket clip. Very cool. One feature I really like about this knife is the pocket clip. So let's talk about the specs. I wish I had a 560 here to compare it with, but I don't. But again, I think a good comparison would be between the 560, because this knife is just one step up above that knife. So overall length is 9.5 inches. Blade length is 4 1/4. Blade thickness is about 0.19 inches thick. Blade material is B75P, which is kind of akin to the BG42, I believe. So not a blade material, not a steel that we see very often, which is probably why they went for it. Something a little more exotic, something a little more out there. It's a hollow grind, stone washed. The handle length is 5 1/4. The handle thickness is 0.62 inches thick. And then obviously titanium with the carbon fiber insert, and it's 7.3 ounces with the pocket clip being reversible for tip up only, which I'm very happy about, and just left and right hand carry. So again, it's based on the design by RJ Martin and his Q36, but it's been put into the Zero Tolerance line and given a kind of an ultra beefy overhaul. Few differences between this and the Q36 are, one, the size and the weight. It's longer, larger, heavier. It also employs a stainless steel lock insert, which I very, very much like over just a standard titanium contact point. It does have an over travel stop, which, oh, you can see that rounded edge in there. Man, the lighting isn't great for this, but basically when you go to push that in, that's as far as you can take it. So there's an over travel stop incorporated into the blade. Let my camera refocus. There we go. So this knife is incredibly, incredibly smooth. I think they did really a wonderful job. When I got this in hand, I was super excited, very, very impressed with the knife. The initial owner put a very steep edge on there, put a nice mirror polish. I don't know who the initial owner was. I got it from a guy in the forums, but you know, to be honest, I never thought that I would see this knife for sale on the forums. I mean, these ZT collaborations and their ultra premium line have gone off the shelf with incredible speed. They've all sold out in the pre-orders. The prices that people were paying on the secondary are insane. So I was like, well, I'll probably never get my hands on one of the special editions. But I think as more of them hit the market, it seems like I'm seeing more of them for sale on the forums for a reasonable price. I got this one below the initial asking price that it was sold for from the dealers. So I was pretty stoked. I think as the 801 carbon fiber comes out, as the 0454 comes out, as the other iterations of the 888 come out, I think we'll still start to see more of these on the market and the prices come down a little bit. But you know, as to the question, are they worth it? Absolutely. The detent on this, rock solid, and it flips very well with the light switch. Very authoritarian. And also, oh, that was the push button. Here's the light switch. Very nice. And then the stainless steel lock insert allows you to really thump on it without creating any lock stick, which I definitely prefer. So, beautiful knife. The ergonomics, despite it being so large, are actually very, very good. It's a little bit more narrow this way, but it's a little bit fuller this way. Again, it's 3D machined, so you do have a little bit of a rise in the center on both sides, and then it gets a little narrow at the edges, so it creates kind of that hand-feeling grip on it. So, nice jimping on the top here. They didn't put any jimping here, which is good because when you flip a knife, that can kind of damage your finger a little bit. So ergonomics are fantastic. I find this to be, for me personally, a lot more comfortable than my 560 was. I had one for a while. It seemed like a large knife. I didn't like the lock stick that would happen, and of course, I know there's some out there that have zero lock stick, but if you flipped it hard, you know, it would create some stick, and I just really prefer the stainless steel lock inserts. And I think the reason for me is because I'm lazy. The way that I like to clean my knives for just everyday service is I blast some CLP down here, I let it sit for about 20 minutes, I blow it out, I wipe down the knife, I wipe down the blade with the CLP on it, and it's good to go. Now, if you have a titanium lock interface and you do that method of cleaning, the CLP is going to create a lot of stick with your steel to the titanium frame lock. So that's the method I use to clean, and it doesn't work well with straight up titanium lock interfaces. So I really prefer the stainless steel lock insert. So I know I've talked about that in a lot of my videos. I don't think I've ever said why before, and that's the reason why. Just my method of cleaning, it doesn't work well. Also, I mean, the stainless steel lock interface is obviously going to last longer. Do I anticipate wearing out a titanium lock interface in my lifetime? Probably not. I'd either have to be flipping it relentlessly or abusing the knife. So anyways, the 3D machining is very beautiful, and it's typically underappreciated, as Thomas from Kai talked about. I think he said with the 0560, they just have the one side with the 3D machined titanium, and the time it takes to do that the 3D machining on that knife is 1 hour and 20 minutes. So the pieces, you probably have a row of pieces sitting there for 1 hour and 20 minutes, not moving through the assembly line just to do the 3D machining. So this one, being that the 3D machining is even nicer and it covers more of the knife, it's more than an hour and 20 minutes to do the 3D machining on this knife. Another interesting thing that Thomas W. talked about is that the pocket clips are actually the most expensive pieces on the knife to produce due to the amount of machining that goes into it. So, you know, that's interesting. I don't think that most people really understand the machining process and the costs associated, and neither do I. But if you look at Kai Industries, they are a volume producer. They're not a specialty producer. So their bread and butter comes from producing and selling a lot of knives. So the Skylines, the knives that you find in Walmart, in Dick's Sporting Goods, and those retailers, that's how that company, or at least that portion of Kai, stays afloat, is primarily through the Kershaw offerings. And so in order to produce a knife like this that takes insane amount of machining time, they basically have to put the other production on hold in order to produce these. Do they make money on these? Yes, but they're primarily a showcase to say, hey, this is what our company is capable of producing. Take a look at it, buy it if you want. If you can't afford it, we have other offerings. And this year they're actually letting the KVT down into the Kershaw offerings. There's the Nura 3.0 and 3.5 coming out. I have those on pre-order, and I'll be excited to see those. So let's take a look at some size comparisons. As always, have the Tenacious here because everyone has one. So there's the Tenacious, much larger. Let's look at handle thickness. Thinner as well. I mean, it's about a third, 30% wider without, you know, without including the clip, just the handle portion. How about an Umnumzon here? Now it looks like it's about the same length, but that's the camera angle. If we bring this one forward here and the other one backwards, you can see that it is larger. So by a good bit, and also weighs more as well. So anyways, I've been very, very excited with this knife. It flips beautifully. It is extremely smooth. Just falls right into place. And the thing that's really nice is this knife flips better than all of my other knives, and I think it's in part to the titanium frame. When you flip it and you flip it hard, it has this ka-chink, and then it doesn't move. It doesn't cause reverberations throughout the handle such as my carbon fiber flippers do. It feels so tight and so solid. The KVT is very smooth. I don't know if it's better on this knife than my 560, but it's better than I remember. So anyways, I've been super stoked with this knife. And what it's done for me is it's created an appetite for more of the ZT Special Editions because they're absolutely worth it. If I can get my hands on a 0454, I will be stoked. If I can get an 801 carbon fiber, I will be ecstatic. If I can get a 888, I don't know that I could carry that knife. It might be too nice for me, so I don't know that I'd go for it. But a 777, oh, I don't care what blade it has. I'd be super excited to get it. So again, we probably won't see these in high numbers ever, simply because Kai has to stop their other production in order to produce these in the same factory. So there'll always be a limited production. There'll always be kind of a pain in the ass for them because they're not their bread and butter. Much like F1 racing is a showcase of the technologies that Honda or whatever company, Mercedes, is capable of producing. It's not their primary focus, and they don't make any money off of it. What they do is they showcase the different technologies, and then slowly they kind of leak their way down into the production models that keep the company afloat. One analogy that I think is quite relevant would be like the Toyota Camry and the Honda Accord, versus the NSX and the LFA. It's just those models don't really make them much money. In some cases they lose money, I've heard that the Bugatti Veyron is actually more expensive to produce than they sell it for. So, anyways, stellar knife. If you can, check them out. We're starting to see these pop up for sale in the secondary market more and more now, and they're absolutely worth it. If you haven't yet, head over to Gear Geeks Live or Everyday Commentary and check out that podcast with Thomas W. of Kershaw. I think it really gives insight into the reasons that they do these in small numbers, the reasons they use the materials they do, the reasons that it's hard to get your hands on the knives. I thought it was super interesting, and it gives me new insight and new appreciation for the ZT offerings. And man, it's been a home run year for Kershaw. All of the Ernest Emerson collaborations, the award-winning 0454, the Nura, which is going to have the Kershaw Velocity technology coming in the Kershaw line, so it's going to be rather inexpensive. They're really pushing the envelope. They're really doing a lot, and I'm really looking forward to what they have to offer in the future. So again, epic knife. I know I talked more about Kershaw and Kai than the knife itself, but you've seen it, you've heard about it, you're getting another look at it. It's absolutely stellar. It is definitely worth the asking price. If you can, get one, trade for one, arm wrestle your friend out of one. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Comments, questions, put them below. Take care.